Welcome back to Sunrise. If you're just joining us, thanks for coming along. This week is Journalism Week with a focus on the role that journalism plays in shaping public opinion as well as strengthening democracy. Well, from highlighting the challenges faced by journalists to celebrating those who continue to make a difference, President of the Press Association of Jamaica, the PAJ, Dashan Hendricks, he joins us this morning to share what we can expect from this year's week of activities. Welcome, Dashan.
Hey, Dennis, how are you doing?
All is well. I'm good.
I hope you all is well.
Good. Well, you know, Journalism Week is always an important week, of course. I mean, as journalists, we look forward to the Journalist Awards.
Yeah.
That's a big item on the calendar. But tell us about the week in general.
All right, well, Journalism Week this week, as you know, started yesterday with a church service at Fellowship Tabernacle. That's Reverend Tal Miller's church. And we had a pretty lovely service, I must tell you, really, Dennis. I enjoyed the service up to last night. I was telling the folks in the PJ group, hey, that was a lovely service last night.
Nice.
But we're moving to the week. On Wednesday, we have our Veterans Luncheon, where we honor 5 veterans. Arthur Hall from the Jamaica Observer, Barbara Gale, who is retired but still works at the Cleaner, Joseph Wellington, who works at the Jamaica Observer, as well as Neville Bell at RJR
General,
and the Durant Piet at Our Dot today. So we are honoring 5 of our journalists this year as veterans. And the big day, as I spoke about, where we have the National Journalism Awards, where we select our business journalists of the year, our sports journalists of the year, young journalists, best news story, best investigative story, best health story. And of course, the big one for everybody is the Journalist of the Year. And that will be on Saturday at Spanish Court Hotel, starting at 7 o'clock with a pre-award cocktail. And that is sponsored by NCB. And then we have the awards itself, where we have the glamour and the glitz and the glamour celebrating our work as journalists in the year. And then we have the after party at the Spanish Court Hotel in New Kingston.
Which is always something to look forward to.
It's always something to look for. It's the big event of Journalism Week. And I mean, as journalists, we don't celebrate ourselves a lot. We don't want to put ourselves in the spotlight per se.
We tell the story. We try not to be the story.
But for Journalism Week is a time in which we get to tell our own stories and get to celebrate ourselves for 1 week each year. And we're doing the best as we can to make it the best week of Journalism Week and grow it every year as we go on.
How do you feel about the entries this year for the various awards? I know you can't say much, so I'm not going to ask you about the entries, but like, how excited are you about the things that have been submitted this year?
That's a pretty easy question to answer, Dennis. Because really, even as a president, I don't see any entries. I don't.
You don't know what's coming in?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I have absolutely no clue what the entries are, who won, or whatever. There's a big firewall between us. And
so you're just as excited about what might come as everyone
I'm waiting
else.
to see. I don't know who entered, who won. Nothing.
Are there any new categories this year?
No new categories this year. But I must say, I've indicated to the committee that we may need to review the categories, look at how things have changed over time, or we include people who do online, social media, if we include them different from the traditional broadcast, where you have radio, TV, and the traditional print that we do. So we have to look at some of the categories. I don't know what will come. They may stay, but at least to look at them to see if they are still relevant in the way they are right now, and to either tweak 1 or 2, or to add 1 or to drop 1, depending on what a committee will look at and say, okay. But those won't take effect until at least 2026. Because the period for entries for 2025 started on the 1st of July to June 30 next year. That's the period. So we can't change it in the middle of the year.
Change it, yeah.
We'll have to do it for the next period, which would be 2025 to 2026, if the committee comes back and recommend changes. The committee may come back and say no change is necessary.
Indeed. When we think about Journalism Week, you know, sometimes we think about, you know, the journalists who are coming. And it's great that we're celebrating veterans, you know. when I just entered, broadcasting and journalism, I remember a much younger Arthur Hall. Then now to see him being celebrated as a veteran.
Well, I get old, don't it?
I get old, but that means Arthur, I get old too. But there's gonna come a time when you will be a veteran being celebrated on a Wednesday if you are still in the profession at the time. But the point I'm making is that things and times change, and the old guard would have set an example. Yeah. I'm growing up. I never said I wanted to be a journalist, but my little sister always said, I want to be a journalist. I want to be a journalist. What do you say to that young person this morning who's watching this conversation and saying, oh, it's journalism week. Mommy, I want to be a journalist.
Well, the profession offers a lot for people who come into it. I mean, this is 20 years in journalism. I actually started here at CVM 20 years ago.
Yeah, I remember.
And 20 years later, I'm at the Observer. I've been through both broadcast and thing, and it has been a journey that when you look back, you say, like, some nice things, But then you look again and you say, there are some rough times as well.
Yes.
And I was having a discussion just yesterday with Milton Walker, who's the director of the PAJ, and I was saying, look, you think when we have the veterans luncheon, should we bring these veterans to tell some of the stories that they experienced so that they can inspire some of the young journalists that are here to do things, but not to do some of the things that those older folks did, because when they hear some of the stories of the things that they did to get stories, you don't have to do it at their age, or you can't do it at their age.
Can't do it anymore.
But we need that sort of inspiration to guide the younger journalists. The newsrooms really across Jamaica are emptying out of the older folks, and we have younger journalists, but we need the veterans there to still guide the younger journalists, as I got when I was here at CVM when I came here first.
Definitely. Big up to the veterans who shepherded the younger journalists, and every newsroom needs that kind of a presence.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Our guest has been Dashan Hendricks, veteran journalist and president of the Press Association of Jamaica. Look out for the activities of Press Association Week that might be affecting or impacting you. Sunrise, we'll be back in just a moment. Veteran journalist.